Yeah. See. Guess what day it is? It is not hump day. It is Saturday. This has been a whirlwind of a day for me. But guess what? The show must go on. I am so glad and blessed to have you before me, have me before you. My name is Kishen. I am the content creator of Stories with Kishen, Ordinary People with Extraordinary Lives. And if you are tuning in today, that's because you know about part 1 and 2 of Breaking the Silence by author, entrepreneur, mother, wife, business owner, Ina Friday. Ina has shared her story about her ability, her healing process in overcoming with the book she wrote called Breaking the Silence. If you have not gotten this book, get this book. It is a must read. Everybody can identify with this because there's something that's going to speak to you in this book. So remember the book, Breaking the Silence. There was a part 1 that when I interviewed Ina, she shared her story. If you missed it, you can go to SoundCloud and follow me, Stories with Kishen, and you can hear the podcast there as well as any other podcasts that I created. Or if you want to see the video broadcast, type in on YouTube, Stories with Kishen, Ina Friday, or Breaking the Silence, and you can watch the video. So I've interviewed Ina. She shared her story of her journey through the healing process of child molestation and then just the baggage that she carried with that. But that following interview was with her husband, Cornell Friday, and he also shared his story of how they met. Oh, when I heard the story, I'm like, this is a love story. And today they're going to share their story. So I interviewed him. Same thing. If you missed that interview, part 2, you can go to SoundCloud, Stories with Kishen, and you can listen to the podcast if you're exercising, if you're at work, if you're just sitting somewhere, you just want to put your headphones in, or if you want to see the video, that's also on YouTube. My YouTube channel, make sure that you subscribe, you comment, you like, and you share it. Same deal, type in Stories with Kishen, Breaking the Silence, Cornell Friday. And then today, this is part 3. This is what you've been waiting for, the build up to their love story. So without further ado, and for those of you who got a chance to watch both of the previous interviews or listen to them, you know that today is the feast. Today is the pièce de résistance. Yes, I took French a little bit, but don't tell nobody. So they're preparing a meal. And Cornell, that is his expertise, his specialty. I still don't know what he prepared, but I did my part, considering that I'm states away. So I created something. Oh, but I wish I could just get a whiff of what he prepared. And then Ina, of course, she prepared the dessert. Oh my goodness. So if we're eating, smacking, or whatever, pay no attention to us. You're just among friends. So without further ado, I am going to bring to the broadcast Ina Friday. Hey, Ina.
Hello, Kishen.
Did you hear all of that?
You hear all that?
Did you hear?
Yes, I did. That was amazing.
I tried to set it up just so, but you're going to tell us a little before we even get to what Cornell prepared. Let's talk about your thoughts of the past 2 interviews as we start this interview.
Okay.
So, what were your thoughts when we first talked about interviewing, and how did that go for you?
Well, when you reached out to me and talked to me about interviewing and how you had this vision, it just all made sense because before Cornell, there was me with all the stuff that I went through. So it was perfect for me to share about my history and my transformation from being abused as a child, sexually abused as a child, and some of the things that I went through. And then I shared it in my book, my new book that you talked about, Breaking the Silence, and all the things that I had to endure to be able to get to where I am today. And bringing on Cornell after that to share because none of us are perfect and we all have a past. We all have some type of history, but it's in how we go through things and how we look at things after. And so, with his history, and I had history, and the things that we both been through, and you look and you say, here are two imperfect people coming with baggage and things that they endured in their life. And now here they are. Look at where they are today. And even the journey that we didn't talk about that we're going to get to tonight, it just all makes sense. And so I just feel like it was good for people to see my story, but then also hear my husband's story because a lot of times men don't share. They're not as transparent and they're not as open as women is about the things that they endure in life for a number of reasons because they already have enough things on their back as being Black men anyway. So now here you is with all the things that you went through and you know how people are. They like to judge, but when you're free and you're beyond the judge and you don't care about what people have to say, then you can deliver and talk about your story openly without hesitation. And so for me to share my story and then him to share his story, I think, God is all over this because we both have a story and now we have more after. So
Amen. And I'm glad that you talk. Sometimes people, I think they stay in those positions, those places of bondage because they don't get God involved. They try to do it on their own, or they don't ask him how to get out of it. They don't ask
right,
him to just, remove the burden. And
right.
so they hold on to it. It's almost sometimes people are comfortable with it. Or even like earlier today, I moderated a conference with Tasha McLaughlin, and she
Mhm.
talked about, keeping that secret, the family
Yes.
secret. And so people won't open up because then now you're going to expose the whole family and we're going to look bad.
We're gonna make our family look bad.
Right.
They're gonna
But
talk about us. It's gonna be all your fault. And there is people right now today that hang on and worry about what, what their family is going to say when it has something to do more about what happened to you, the person, not what the family's going to look like or how they're going to be judged now. But what about me? What about if this is part of my healing? What if this is me saying I need to do this to be healed? But in the back of my mind, I'm hanging on because family, you better not, we don't tell our dirty laundry. I talked about that on some of my lives before about family saying we don't share our secrets. But those secrets that you're not sharing can affect the generations in the family to come.
that is so true. And I think that's why instead of people being more concerned about exposing the dirty laundry, they should be more concerned about the healing and the growth and letting things go and being whole. Because when you're broken and you messed up and you have all this stuff that you're sharing with your kids, now they're exposed to it, and then you wonder why they continue to be in bad relationships, or they're just angry all the time, or they just have all these issues because we can't talk about what's hurting us, and it's hurting us on the inside.
Yes, it is. And I think a lot of times your family. When you talk about the kids, so my kids knew very early on what happened to me because it was important for me to share with them. And they may not have remembered because they were quite young, but I felt like if I shared with them early enough as young children and continue to talk to them about it, then it would help them understand certain things along the way. But it's funny that you said that because even after my kids all read the book, because they all got the book and they were calling me and saying, now this makes sense. So even though they're older and now they can understand a lot of things a lot more better about my past and how I was raising them, it made sense now why I was so I wanted them to be involved in social things, because those things I wasn't involved, because that's where your growth comes from and you get confidence. But they didn't understand, like, why is it so important for me to go to the prom? Why is it so important for me to go to these things that the kids are doing? It's because those things, if I would have been a part of those things, would have probably changed the way my self-esteem and confidence, it probably would have built it. But because I was so full of shame and guilt and hurt, I stayed away from those things, not knowing that building your confidence will help you be able to even speak up about things. Because when you don't have confidence, a lot of times you don't speak up. So it's just funny because my kids, all of them said, well, this makes sense now. I understand why you were so honest about these things. So it's like, that's what it's about. Because what if I've never shared? So what that said to me was, while they may not have understood totally, it still was in the back of their mind growing up, because they could say, oh, wow, now this really makes sense. So it's important to get your family involved. That family who's dealing with this, they need healing. And you have to remember that it's not just about you. It's about the bigger picture here. And yeah, some people are going to be hurt, and some people may not ever bring their kids around a certain person because of that reason. And I don't blame them, especially if that person didn't go get help and not working on, whatever they're going through. But it's important for your family to know, because like I've said before, it's going to continue. You don't know what or who it's going to affect down the road.
Yeah. And that's so true. And so I want to continue that dialogue, because when I actually interviewed Cornell, and even in your book, he shared that when you shared with him that you had been molested, that he opened up about his childhood molestation.
Yes.
And it goes unspoken. I mean, and you don't realize the effects that it has on you until you start going through counseling and you start unpacking that stuff, and then it ties back to that trigger or to that traumatic event.
Yes.
And a lot of people won't, especially men, they don't want to talk about it.
Men, what
I found interesting with him, though, is that he did.
Mm-hmm.
And he shared how he was taught not to cry. But as you attested to, that's a good thing for him and anybody in general, to get that out, to cry.
Get it out. You got to get it out. You got to get it out. And I don't know, it doesn't, men growing up been taught that, you're not a man if you cry. And that's a lie. God created our tears. He gave that the ability to cry. God cried. So if Jesus cried, what makes you think that a man can't cry? They're made from God. So no, I wish they would stop saying that and teaching young boys that they're not supposed to cry. And I think it prevents them from releasing and then hanging on to those things and then internalizing it, and it festers inside until one day it's a blow up. It's a blow up because it's just too full. I'm just too full and I can't cry. So I don't even know how to process some of these things. And so now I'm going to act out because that's the only way I know how to process it, because I'm a man and I don't cry. So I just think when I hear that, it's like Jesus wept. So what do you mean men don't cry?
And you know what? And that's one of the shortest verses in the Bible, but it's so powerful, especially when you dispel that lie that just keeps continuing to repeat itself, that men
Yes,
are not supposed to cry. That is baloney.
it is.
It's
It
hogwash.
is. It is.
So talk about, and because I know, and it's interesting how you guys work as a team, because even the preparation for today, you mentioned that you went and got and did your part, and he's still working on his part. So we're going to talk about marriage a little bit.
Okay.
And I think it's appropriate, especially for somebody like me who's not married right now. I
That's
was
right.
married, am not, will be. So let's talk about that whole dynamic with today in preparation for what we're about to take on, and how you guys work as a team, and how that ties into your nonprofit.
Okay. So it's funny because when I met Cornell, I didn't know that he was a chef. I mean, I knew that where he worked, he got food together, but it wasn't until we really had a conversation about him going to school and getting that degree in culinary. And I remember when we had our first meal together, and when we finally met and let the kids meet and everything, and we had a dinner, and then I think after that I started really learning about him cooking, and I was intrigued because I had never seen that. And besides, I had been a single mother for a very long time, cooking meals almost every day. So now
Yeah.
here I am with someone who is a chef. And one of my questions was, do that mean I'll never have to cook again?
Love it.
And the answer was absolutely, you don't ever have to cook again. So
He said that's
right
wrong.
here today, most of the time I never cook. I will cook every now and then. And sometimes I feel bad because I don't cook, but because he loves to cook, and we'll talk about what we want to eat, and we'll talk about what meals, and sometimes like, okay, Ina, you need to, just go and do it. But he loves it. And for me, I loved it when I had to do it, raising my children. So I had to do it. So yes, I still every now and then will cook, but majority of the time my husband cooks because he loves to cook. And when we got to when the nonprofit came, before it was a nonprofit, some young ladies was reaching out to me, and I started putting these little small events together in my home and inviting them over, and we would just have discussions. And I started because I wanted a small bakery. The love for baking. That's why I said once you heal, you never know what gifts are inside of you. And so I don't even know where that came from. But I started baking, and I was like, oh my God, I'm just doing all these different things. And I was loving it. I didn't go to school for that. And no, I'm not perfect, but my stuff is good. And so it's good now. So I wanted a bakery. And then right after we got married, I said I didn't want a bakery anymore. And I just stopped, and I didn't know what that meant. But during that time, God was working on me, preparing me for what was to come. And to make a long story short, I had a couple encounters with another young lady on my job, and she had a dream about me. And she said, oh my God, I see you. She said, you remind me of when TD Jakes started. And because she had already been to my small events that I did before the nonprofit. And she was like, it's like you with all of your baked goods and this big thing, and it's small, but it's just gonna blow up. And at the time I was like, I don't even want to bake anymore. So I didn't even understand. And I was like, okay. And one day somebody called me, a young lady called me, and she was needing help about a relationship. And she was already calling me, excuse me, her fairy godmother, because she said, Ina, it's something about you. Now didn't even know my story. And she started asking me about relationships, and she started asking me about dating, and she had been through a horrible breakup. And then there was another lady a young lady who was going through a divorce, and she was confiding in me, and she didn't even know my story either. And so I started talking to God, and one day I said to my husband, I said, what is this all about? Like, why do these young ladies keep reaching out to me? And he said, you know why? And I was like, no, I don't. But what it was God was ministering to me about what was to come already with the young ladies reaching out to me. And then one day somebody said, through one of my small events, and I started, when I had the events, I started baking. And I would stay up all night, just all kinds of stuff. And it didn't even matter. It was just all kinds of baked goods. And I said, who don't like talking and trying new things? It makes people open up. They're easier to talk to. They feel more relaxed. And then I was getting orders outside of that, but that was not the intent. But that is what happened. They were like, can I put an order in for this? Can I put an order in for that? And so somebody said to me one day, this should be a nonprofit. And I was like, wow. And it was like, you're doing everything. You're funding everything. Why don't you make this a nonprofit? And I was like, oh my goodness. And then God just started dropping nuggets. This is where your baking is going to come in at. And this is where you're going to be able to use the gift that was hidden inside of you. And so when I was putting the nonprofit together, I was a lady who's a Christian lady, and we prayed about the nonprofit. And I was telling her about my husband being the chef, and she was like, oh my goodness. And we both, I mean, it was like culinary cakes and conversations. It was like just instantly.
Wow.
It was like culinary cakes and conversations, because she already knew I was doing the baking. And she was like, culinary cakes and conversations. She was like, oh my God, you got the food, you got you got the baked goods, and then you got your conversations. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I talked to my husband about it, and he was like, absolutely. Because that's what he loves to do. He's a chef. So he loves to cook. When I would put things together for the organization, when it became an organization, I would tell him what my vision was and what I was doing. And he would, talk to me about what food, what things that I want to see there. What was I trying to show? And I would just give him some ideas. And I'm like, you just run with it, because I'm not sure. So we work hand in hand.
That's because I'm thinking how, as I even go back to the first day y'all met on the bus, had no idea. Here you are years later. He does one thing, you do another thing, you bring it together. That's your team, and God has allowed you both to move forward in it.
Yes, in it. And I'm just telling you, it's amazing. And when the pandemic came, last year was the year that we were supposed to start doing couple small dinners for couples. So it'd be me and him and maybe two other couples, and he was going to cook a meal. It was going to be a meal, and it was going to be, we're going to have what are we talking about tonight? So they knew coming to the table what the conversation would be about, because we already had the discussion about whatever they're dealing with. And so we were going to make it intimate, because sometimes intimate settings, and that's where the whole culinary cakes and conversation come from, because it's a safe place and it's an intimate space. And as it was growing and busting out of my home, I mean, we were about to go and start doing these events in buildings, but then COVID hit. And so I'm like, you know what? That's okay, because I know that we're still going to do this, because that is next. And that's why the dinner thing, because it's like we're a team. So what we're showing you is, although we had baggage, and although we came with stuff, and we've been through hell and back, if you will, look at where we are today, and look how we can function together. And God did not just, this is not a coincidence. And it's like, it shows, like you said, a team, and it shows strength. Now, that doesn't mean that we still don't go through things as a couple, but it just shows, like, if you're headed on the same path, and you both are desiring the same things, then you can overcome anything in any situation. And so I just feel like this right here was going to be a catapult for a lot of different things, even for him to do some things with young men who feel like they don't have a life now because they've been incarcerated and now they need some skills. So he's going to do some cooking lessons to help them say, hey, you can do this. You can start your own business. Just come over here. I'm going to take 3 young men and I'm going to show you how to prepare some dishes. Maybe we just need to do some separate classes for you so you can go cook for your wife. So we had a couple of different things that we were going to start last year to add to the nonprofit to make it more rounded and not just about the women, because men need help too. And so my husband is with his story so he can reach the men, and men need to have a place as well where they can come and have their things what they talk about. So I just, we had a lot of ideas, and I just feel like that's okay. Delayed, but not denied. So we will be able to still go forward with those things with the nonprofit.
You know what? Even as we begin to turn the corner with COVID, I'll put it like that. Is it possible for you to still do similar to what we're doing? Like right now, I know he's preparing the meal. You already have your dessert, and still come together and break bread and still have those conversations on a more intimate level, but through a Zoom or something like that.
Yeah, I had an idea. And we thought about, even if, because, of course, that will come with a donation, because it is a nonprofit. So you have to, my business, Eating the Shell Enterprises, is separate from the nonprofit. So with the nonprofit, it will be a donation, because now here you are, even if we do this and you're here just say you're here in Georgia and you want the meal that my husband is going to cook, the meal will be prepared for you and delivered. And then we will have the conversation like this. So there's different things that we thought about doing if you're here in Georgia. But if you're not in Georgia, then who knows? I don't know what that looks like. But yes, there is still an option to have some things on a Zoom, especially if it's through the organization. Want to make sure that it still is in line with, with what we offer. So, but yes.
Because, even today, like I said, and I'm going to not dumb down my abilities, because I really love to cook. I do. And so I'm putting a plug out there for anybody who is not married. Maybe Boaz is watching. Regardless, I need to eat, so I'm gonna cook. So for those who are not in the area, maybe they can, prepare something. Or exactly. And if Cornell wants to say, hey, we're going to do cooking lessons on this day, so then when we get together on this day, you're going to present to your wife. Yes. And if you want to get with the women, hey, we're going to do this on this day, so that when it's time for us to come together, it's almost like America's Worst Chef, or Worst Chefs in America or something. Oh. But hopefully, if it's seasoned well, and it may not look that great, but if it tastes good.
Yeah, but look at what you're doing, especially if you think about the couples that we want to target. Couples who are younger, who's starting out, but they're struggling, and they just try. When you're young, you don't know how to be intimate without the physical part. So maybe you can take a cooking lesson together and learn how to cook together, and learn that, okay, I'm strong in this area and you're stronger in this area. And then you won't have those big cousins. I don't want to cook, and I don't want to cook either. But maybe now you can find a love for cooking together.
Yeah.
I know how to cook. Now I know how to cook. But it's like, okay, I've been blessed. My husband said I don't have to cook. So I cook, but then it's just him and I. So it's not young children. So it makes it a little bit different. But I think it's important for couples to know how to come together and work together and learn about each other. Because if you don't learn about each other, then how can you grow? How can you grow? So this is just one way to make it fun and still cook and still have the conversation that we're going to talk about, so that it's more of a it's not so heavy. You know what I mean? Like, you take away the heaviness. Is, oh, we're going to be talking about this today because this is what we brought to them and said, can you talk about these things? So it's funny because even some young ladies that I talk to would, I would ask them if they mind if I shared with my husband about the guy, because they would ask me questions about the guy. And I said, you know what, that's not my area, but I'm going to, if you don't mind, I will share with my husband, or you can, and he can talk to you from a man's perspective. And most of the time they was like, yes, because we know Cornell and he's going to give it to us straight. So he has done that on a number of occasions, and they walked away like, oh my goodness, you're right. So I think that's important too, because I'm not a man and I can't speak about how a man, you know, so I want to make sure that I always say, do you mind, especially if they ask me something about a man, do you mind if I share with my husband? Because I think it's better to hear from a man than hearing something from me. So,
you know, that's a good point. And I think a lot of times as women, sometimes we want that amen corner. We want that, well, we have an allegiance, and you have to, because I'm a woman and you're a woman, you have to agree with what I'm saying, right? So I appreciate that, because you don't always know what a man thinks, especially if you're not a man. So how can you truthfully and just provide that type of input if you aren't thinking like a man, you know, regardless to what Steve Harvey said. I mean, I watched the movies. I watched the movies. But can you truly answer the way that a man would answer? So that's so good, because I don't know that happens just in general. I don't think people necessarily do that.
I have enough to learn, and what I need to do about me as the woman and playing my role. So I definitely don't want to learn the role and take on the responsibility of learning, like, oh yeah, this is a man, this is how they think. No, that's not. I just don't think that's fair. I just don't think that's fair, because I'm not a man. So I don't, and I'm not a man corner, or girl, if I was you, you should do this, this, and that. And I wouldn't put it with this, that. I don't believe that. I love the idea of love, especially if it's healthy. And that's something one of my very good friend who passed away told me. She said, after all you've been through, she said, it amazes me how you still love. And because we would have conversations, I wasn't in a relationship yet, but I still had the idea of that God was going to send me the man that was right for me. And I did not give up on love. And that's one thing that sometimes women, you hear them, well, I don't need a man. It's not that, you know, and sometimes that's a way to cover up and shield yourself when deep down inside you desire. God created us for relationships. And and I just believe that if we go with an open mind and not shut ourselves down, you know, because who knows, if I would have shut myself down, where would I be? And so, you want to heal and work on yourself first and make sure that you are prepared for what's to come, so that you know you. And that was important for me. That was so important for me.
You know what? I think that's key. And for those of you who are just tuning in, this is part 3 of Stories with Kishen, Ordinary People with Extraordinary Lives, and the Fridays. So we did part 1. We interviewed, Ina and I spoke in part 1. Part 2 was Cornell, and part 3, which is today, we are coming together with a meal. And again, because we're talking about marriage and a team and working together as partners, Cornell may not be on the screen, but he is behind the scenes, and he is still.
You about done, babe? He said we good, so I guess he's wrapping up.
Shut up!
He said he needs 2 or 3 minutes.
And you know what? And we're going to give him 2 or 3 minutes, because I know.
He he's in the kitchen talking loud about what he's gonna bring the show. So
Okay. And see, because he is an artist with food, I'm just going to say that. I've seen the plates and I'm just like, if I can just stick my
would you say
fork
if I can just
through,
go through there and stick my fork in it?
right. just taste that little bit.
Just a little bit.
But just a little bit. And I will get a chance to do that. But nonetheless, so
Yes.
being in a marriage is a team. You're working as a team. You are partners. You're in it together. Well, one person has downfalls, the other person, that's where they strengthen each other, and you come together and you create this harmonious meal, which is actually what's going to happen today.
Yes.
So what can he at least share, or does he want to show it? Hi, Tyson.
You see, Tyson is all he smells the desserts over here, and he is like, "Mother, what is that?" Cornell, she said, "Can you at least give a hint as to what you're cooking?"
I'm making a small appetizer,
a small appetizer, a fruit display,
a small appetizer,
a small appetizer,
which is
a bruschetta with tomato and basil,
and then I'm making an entree,
and you're making an entree,
which is
salmon, asparagus, and potatoes. Herb potatoes.
Ah,
that's what he's doing.
I didn't do all that many courses. What did he say?
He said it's coming up right now.
I skipped the appetizer.
You skipped the appetizer.
I didn't do an appetizer. I went straight for the entree. So we're similar because I did lemon pepper Parmesan crusted salmon.
Oh, lemon pepper crusted Parmesan salmon, yes.
And I did rice with pilaf with spinach.
Pilaf with spinach, okay.
And then I have my salad, just greens with Italian dressing.
Yes.
And
always have a starch, a veggie, and a protein. Any meal is gonna have a starch, a veggie, and a protein. And a bread and a salad.
See, I don't do bread. I've gotten rid of bread.
My husband, I have to tell him the bread, I can't do the bread. So sometimes I will say, okay, it's one day, so I'll have it. But most days, I'm like, you can have your white rice, you can have that because your wife is not eating that. So I think Cornell likes comfort food and likes to put smiles on people's faces. So I think the way that I have been eating, like I don't eat meat, I eat seafood. And a lot of times I don't eat that. He was like, "You're not gonna eat that?" I'm like, "No." So I don't want, a lot of times, especially when I became, I'm gonna say a pescatarian, I guess.
Okay.
That was detrimental to him because it was like, what do I do now? And I'm like, you still cook.
Right. I was gonna say, but he eats what? Cow and pigs?
Eats everything. I mean, everything. And he watches food shows and wants to go to all these places and try all of this stuff. Everything.
He should. Girl, yeah.
You watch the show, an African show that he's been watching, and we found an African restaurant for him. And yes, he will go find it. Yes, we're ready. You ready?
So he's coming. Okay.
He's coming with the fruit.
Small fruit.
Yay.
So he's got his fruit.
So guess what?
See, that's so unfair.
Pineapples and strawberries and grapes. So he has a fruit. And I'll just sit it right here.
We got the fruit.
And then here is the bruschetta. Whoa, I got to figure out a way how to let you see it.
You know what? Just pick it up and eat it.
Let me show you.
Oh my gosh.
It has the mozzarella and the tomato on top. You want to have some? So he has the whole plate all pretty with the little. Is this basil? Basil, I think, all around the plate here.
Oh my gosh.
That's that. Now, you probably can't see it. I don't want to drop it.
It looks good. It looks good. Can
That's
you
the bruschetta.
take the? Can you take the?
Oh.
Can you go like this?
Let me see.
Because that looks good.
Whoa, I still did it, didn't I? I
You
think
just
it's,
gotta pick it up.
I'm just gonna have to pick it up.
I just want to bite.
You just want to bite it?
I just want to bite it.
LaShawn can help us. Maybe LaShawn can help us.
So,
camera.
is there a reason why he serves the fruit first? Is it to prepare your palate? How does that work? Is there a rhyme or reason to it?
Kishen wants to know: is there a rhyme or reason why you serve the fruit first? Is it a rhyme or reason for serving the fruit first?
Because when you walk somewhere and you're eating, it's going to be the very first thing that someone wants to offer you is fruit.
It's fruit.
There is our entree.
Uh-oh. Dang.
Okay. Girl, just pick up the tablet. Just pick it up. Pick the whole thing up.
Just can you
pick up the laptop, girl?
Just unplug it for a minute. Yeah, and then we'll plug it back in. Turn it on down.
Oh.
Can you see it? Hold it up, son.
Yes. That looks good. Wait, I can't see the entree yet.
You stay there.
Oh, that looks good. Now, how's the asparagus? How did he prepare the asparagus?
Ice cold, and then that's the bruschetta.
So we blanch it.
Okay.
We blanch it and saute it in some Irish butter.
And some who?
Irish butter.
What is that?
Irish butter is the highest fat content butter that you can find in the grocery store. It's the expensive butter. How about that?
Clearly.
Yes.
Did I get it?
You got people talking about they hungry watching this.
Oh, did you see everything, Kishen?
Yes.
Okay.
I want some. Well, that my little preparation pales in comparison. I don't have appetizer, bruschetta, and stuff like that. Hey, Cornell, how you doing?
I'm absolutely wonderful. I'm done working right now.
You know what? You clearly love to prepare food.
I do. It is my passion. It is my joy. It is my love. It is heaven sent. So it's not about money. It's not about any of that. It's just for me. You have a big smile on your face, Kishen.
Because I'm looking at that food.
You haven't even tasted anything though.
You excited? You're loud.
Excuse me for being loud.
You know what? You are fine because I have been waiting. How long have we been waiting for this final episode, this final interview? And this is just it just makes perfect sense. The topping off, the creme de la creme of your relationship. This is a ministry. Cooking is a ministry, especially if you're doing it with passion and because you love to do it, and it looks good.
Kishen, I'm gonna tell you something, okay?
What's that?
There's a prophet that talked to me about 8 years ago. I met him at the unemployment line over at the unemployment office. He was a prophet, and he prophesied into me, and he said, "Brother, you're feeding people food right now. You're feeding their stomachs right now." And he said, "One day you'll feed their souls." Wow, that stuck with me. It's been with me it's been with me for a while. I don't know. Prophets speak over your life.
Yeah.
Prophets speak over your life. But I can only imagine, and I can only think of exactly what that brother was talking to me about. And
Yeah.
between feeding brothers and sisters' stomachs, I would also like to feed brothers and sisters' souls.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way bigger than this, but this is nothing to me. That big smile on your face, that is my payment. It's an instant, it's instant gratification on my end. On my end, when you pick up the fork or the spoon, or you put your hand into something that I've created and I've made, and you've tasted this, and now you're smiling. Now we can talk. So that's what the cakes and the convos is really all about. So,
Yeah.
so we can make a beginning. My pastor says all the time, he says to feed them first and then minister to them. Don't minister to them first because they're hungry.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they can't eat. Excuse me. They can't hear the word and interpret the word that you're trying to give them on an empty stomach.
Yeah.
But if you feed them first and satisfy that need, that longing, that desire, that want that they have, if you give them that first, now we can talk. Now we can talk. So that's what cakes and combos is all about. So we break the ice with the food, and then guess what? In the end, when we're finished, then we eat some of my wife's wonderful desserts.
Yeah. Let's see the desserts.
LaShawn, you got to come back and do the camera again for the dessert.
You didn't show the desserts?
I had to hold it up but since LaShawn came.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you got people making comments. Somebody said they can't think because they're hungry.
They can't think because they're hungry. But guess what? When you give them that, when you satisfy that, now we can talk.
Oh, look at the display.
There it is.
Okay,
So
what's on the
I said
top?
I wanted some chocolate cupcakes. So I just made my chocolate on chocolate, put a little designs on it. I made my apple crisp with caramelized apples in the bake and then the little whipped topping. So I did something small because who's gonna eat all this stuff? Because there's plenty. It's a lot.
Right. So when somebody is in your presence in this ministry because you're feeding them naturally and spiritually.
Wow, you said that.
It's true.
Well, that's what you said. But guess what? We are not a ministry. Because guess what? It doesn't matter if you're Muslim, Buddhist, Christian, just an atheist. It doesn't matter because we still love you anyway. So it doesn't really matter. It's all about the cakes, the culinary, and the conversations that we have amongst each other. So there is nobody above and there is nobody beneath.
Right.
We're just all here. It doesn't matter.
And although it's a ministry, but it's not a ministry with you have to be non-denomination or anything. It's just let's come and what it is to break bread.
Break bread.
That's what exactly. Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. You just coming to break bread.
Guess what? We invite all tax collectors.
I was gonna say, well, you sound like Jesus. Jesus was like, he didn't discriminate. He was like, just come on.
He's not.
No,
not
come
at all.
on.
And neither are we. And neither are we. So yes.
Either, neither nor.
Yes, that's right. Are we? No. No. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. White, black, red, yellow, brown. It doesn't matter.
Let me, because I know, Ina, you have waited patiently for your food. I've waited patiently. Cornell, you are taking a load off right now because you have worked hard. And we won't eat before the people. But just so you know, because I wanted to try and match at least a little bit of what you were doing. Now, I didn't do an appetizer, but I did make salmon, lemon pepper, Parmesan crusted salmon.
Hey.
I made rice with pilaf and spinach, and I have salad.
Yeah.
And for dessert, I have a double chocolate brownie, and I'm going to add some vanilla ice cream with some caramel chocolate, and I'm going to top it off with crunched up Heath bar.
My.
Hey.
Hey. Now let me tell you something.
Uh-oh.
At the end of a long work day, and at the end of an easy day, it doesn't matter, long, hard, easy. When we come home, we want what we want. A peace, a serenity, a covering in our home. And we thank God for the provisions that He provides, because we wouldn't be able to have it without Him.
Say that.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, when we eat, whatever it is that we eat, we thank Him, because we know that it comes from His hands, and His hands alone are we fed. And then after that, oh wow, it is nothing more grateful than having something that you desire. Now you can't get that from any old restaurant. If you go to a restaurant, you may be disappointed. But if you do it yourself, even if you mess up a little bit, it'll still be better than what you can go and get.
Because it's the love that you know you put in it.
Yeah.
Amen. I know that.
Yeah. So
I love it.
We love cooking here. We love cooking.
We like entertaining.
We love cooking and entertaining.
We just feel like it's so important to come together and do things. And I know how I was saying, why everything got to be based around food. I know that's part of our history. African Americans, that's been a part of our history. And I just think sometimes you get more involved. And even if you're eating a certain way, like me, they laugh at me because of stuff I eat, and I don't care if they laugh. But I'm still enjoying, because it's what I like. And my husband can deliver even the things that I say, this is the things I'm going to eat. And so he'll help make sure that creation is exactly what I'm looking for. So, and I just think that's why I think this whole thing about the culinary cakes in conversation, just even if it is a nonprofit, there are so many beneficial pieces to this, and I'm just waiting to be able to do more, to do more. So
and we're gonna feed the homeless the same thing that we eat.
I know that's right.
Yeah, they don't have to get a bologna sandwich. No, you get what we eat.
Yeah, he's been trying to put something together that we can. But with COVID, I'm like, I can't stand out there and feed homeless meals like this right now, because a lot of them probably don't even have masks and stuff. So, but that is something that he's been desiring to do as well.
Because we're hungry.
We're hungry. Just by showing love, through food.
Yeah. Well, I have been blessed. Kathy says hi. Hey, Kathy.
Hey, Aunt Kathy.
And there have been lots of comments. Leonard, I'm not sure if he's still on. He said, "Hi, Leonard Love." And of course, we got none other than your ride or die daughter,
Oh,
Yes.
my little cousin LaShawn,
yeah. You better
who
believe
has
me.
she's also served as a camera operator in the Friday
Yes.
household.
She's actually also a part of my nonprofit. So there are some things that I've been challenging her and Dahlia. Dahlia is also part of the nonprofit, my son's wife. Everybody has really helped. Marshawn, everybody has pitched in some kind of way. I'm not going to be discouraged by 2019 for what the nonprofit was on the way to do, because I just feel like I'm going to use this time to continue to seek God for more, for what's to come. And I think even with my business developed, I'm going to be able to provide services on both the nonprofit as well as my business. So I'm excited. I keep saying delayed, but not denied.
Amen. I know that's right. Sorry.
Did you eat?
I'm trying.
I'm looking at mine like.
Yeah, we about to wrap up with them, but we'll still connect and continue to eat and talk and stuff. So when can people hear more about Culinary Cakes and Conversation? Is that something that's in the works that will be rebirthed at some point or picked up at some point in the next months or so?
Culinary Cakes and Conversations never stop.
Well, it never stopped, but we didn't have any events, so it did stop because of the COVID. So I'm waiting to see what's going to happen. But in the event that things does not really get to the point where we can get back in person, definitely going to work on some Zoom ideas, cooking classes, some fun things that we can do in the kitchen. Maybe we're still going to have a conversation, but around that conversation, we'll be doing things in the kitchen. So we'll make sure you have a grocery list. We'll make sure, you have everything you need so that we can talk about whatever that is. So that's the only thing that I've really been thinking about as far as how do we get going if we cannot get back in person as an organization, to be able to help people understand that the conversations, it just depends. Sometimes I'll ask, like, what's on your mind? What would you like to know? I know one topic is people wanted to talk about blended families. So there was ladies here and they were talking about blended families and how do you come together when you have children that are not your children, and how do you deal with the ex, and how do I make sure that I'm getting my voice heard? And so it just depends on whatever God gives me, because I usually am led. I wait till God say this is the topic. I can't pick the topic, and then once it's there, it takes me months to put together, because I want to make sure that I'm giving you everything. My last event for the organization that I had here was amazing. It was called Emotional Baggage, and we had you dropped your baggage off at the door, and you had a baggage claim. And so everything around my events are all themed out. So it comes, all the kids were involved. They helped me create the scene. We had everything, bags, everything was a part of the emotional baggage. And people were walking away in awe, because sometimes you don't realize what baggage you have. And then when you're around another person, and it was women who also had baggage and they could relate, it relieves some of the pressure. And I just feel like more of this is needed. More of this is needed. And I'm challenging my husband, and I've been challenging him, that he needs to start something for men. No, I won't be there because he's not a part of what I do with the ladies, but he's a part because he's in the kitchen and he's doing his thing. So I'm challenging him, because men need an outlet too. And sometimes men just need to be around other men who are real, and who are not afraid to say, you know what, I'm struggling in this area. And so even our young married men in their 20s, early 30s, they need to be able to sit down and talk to some other brothers that's married, that they've been through some things, that can help them, that can support them. And so I'm passionate about everything that we're doing because you know why? Because it's everything that we've been through. And it's everything that I wish that was available to me or him in some type of capacity, you know. And so I'm just ready. We're just ready. Look,
yeah. So, and somebody asked in the comments, they said, do you have a website or a blog?
Yes, I have okay. So I have a website, Culinary Cakes and Conversations. It's probably Cakes and Combos.
Cakes and Combos.
Cakes and Combos, and it's going to go under construction. And then it's also have a Facebook page. And then I also, my business, which is still going to be, I'm still who I am in our service on both sides, EdenTheShell.com. You can go there. It'll tell you everything that I do. I'm going to be putting retreats together, which is going to be part of the business. So I already have somebody I'm working with right now. The retreats, even my husband, these things will be for maybe they need a men's fishing trip, you know, so these things will come outside of the EdenTheShell.com because I have work. I'm going to do workshops. I'm going to do group coaching. I have so many things that I desire to do, but I still need to be able to feed the nonprofit. So that's where the business side came. To help feed it so that we can do some of these things. But Kishen, if you don't mind, I want to do shameless, plug for what I got going on for the month of April.
Girl, no shame.
So for the month,
your time, share, yes.
April 1st, starting ladies, if you're on here, starting April 1st, I am starting a self-love challenge, and it's all under EdenTheShell.com. You can go to my website. You can go to my Facebook page. It says, you can go to my website, EdenTheShell.com. I have an Instagram, Ena Living Life, and there's a link, and all you have to do is go subscribe to the challenge. When you subscribe, put your email in there. You're going to get a free download worksheet that we're going to work off of every day for the month of April. However, I'm going to be live in my private Facebook group. I will not be doing this on the main page. This is private. We're working on healing. We're working on knowing about ourselves, loving ourselves. And so for the whole month of April, I'm going live in my group. And you got to get this download. And you should be a part of this challenge. So all of the things that we're doing all come together, whether it's Culinary Cakes and Conversations or you're over on EdenTheShell.com. It's just different options for different things. But I'm sure you can find a place in one of those areas that you would like to be a part of.
And there you have it. I'm loving it. So let me see. Actually, the Yanceys, they're a part of the ministry. My church, they shared this. So thank you so much. They've been on. They've been asking. They have made a couple of comments. They asked about the website and the blog.
Yes.
And there's been other people, Kristen Snyder.
Hey, Kristen.
We were talking about food.
Yes.
Got Cedric Ware, Carolyn Sloan. And of course, Mr. Chandler is on here. and he said, yeah.
And Kishen, I know you're in the podcast. So I do podcasts. I'm doing solo podcasts right now. It's just me. And they're pretty much conversations from the heart that I just talk about different things, different topics, and you can find me on Spotify. Again, it's Eden the Shell. So all of that is connected to my website, and you can find all of the things that I'm doing. I just feel like we gotta show people that there is a way out of a lot of situations, and sometimes they just need to see real people, like you say. We just normal people, but we're doing extraordinary things. But it came off the healing. So if it wasn't for the healing, I wouldn't be doing none of this.
Say that. And you know what? If we're talking, this is your chance to plug whatever is connected to you, whether it's a podcast, a website, an event that's coming up, a book, another book, something that Cornell is working on. This is your opportunity because you have a story. They're connecting to what you're saying. So this is how they can connect with you. So don't ever be like, oh, it's a plug. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a plug.
Yes.
Check me out. Connect.
Everyone here, go please be my friend on Facebook and be a part of what we're doing. I will get you connected. You can send me questions. You want to know how you can be involved. I appreciate it, and I love the support. And sometimes you feel like you're on an island by yourself until you get in situations where people show you love. So I'm just so excited. Yes, thank you, Kishen, for all the love, all the interviews. I certainly appreciate you.
Thank
Absolutely. Peggy Johnson says she feels the presence of the Lord in all in this. She's looking forward to April. Hey, Peggy Levy.
Hey, Peggy. Thank you, Peggy.
Yes, absolutely. I think, say that again.
Watch this. The presence of the Lord is here.
Absolutely. Wait, and some Mr. Chandler said my pops is fire in the kitchen. Fire. I know wrong genre.
Yes.
So that is going to conclude. We getting ready to eat. We've been waiting patiently, and Cornell has worked hard. So thank you so much for tuning in to Stories with Kishen, ordinary people with extraordinary lives. If you've missed any of the interviews, go to SoundCloud, type in Stories with Kishen, and you can see every podcast that I've released. And now this season, all of my interviews are now also going to be on YouTube. Stories with Kishen, same thing. So we YouTubing it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, comment, share all of this stuff, because there's good people with good information, and we're all about whatever God is leading us to do so that we can do what he wants us to do, and he will be glorified in the midst. Amen. So I don't know what's happening on Tuesday. We might have a guy who lost 80 pounds in 9 months, but I'll let you know on Monday if that's been solidified. But otherwise, I want to thank Fridays again for joining Stories with Kishen on this Saturday live. And this will be uploaded at some point. But we about to eat. So thanks again. Thanks, everybody. God bless you. Have a good night.
Bye.